Get to a point in this society where simping is going to be classified as a men's mental health disorder, because that's what it is. But it's been created by the society, this gynocentric environment, this gynocentrism, where men's self-esteem, the attack of manhood, masculinity, trying to feminize men for the last 70, 80 plus years, has produced an army of jellyback simps. Even me, a peaceful life. We were raised to be simps. We were implanted, salute to BGS Igma, we were implanted with a simp bug, pandering to, or even time, me personally, I was an unconscious simp in my younger years. I didn't even know I was a simp until I had a wake-up call around like 30 years old when I experienced the legal system in terms of divorce law. Not because of some women hurt your feelings or all that bullshit. You realize the child support system and the system in general with the legal system. That's why I'm a big fan of a guy like Paul Elam. Paul Elam, young men, gentlemen, research his name. The original guy with the men's rights activist spaces that deal with the legal issues facing men and the psychological and mental health issues. Not these goofy ass bottom feeding degenerate game coaches and trash dudes that are living, been married for the last 20, that grifters on the internet selling bullshit. Grown men my age, I'm 51 years old. Imagine me talking about game. You tell me that I don't have enough power in my life to command women to do the things that I want them to do at 51 years old? I got to sit around lying to women and practicing bullshit game? If I want women to do something, I just tell them to do it, and they do it. If they don't do it, they just get replaced with another woman. And that's the way you're supposed to be as a man at a certain point in your life, especially over 30 years old. If you can't do that, get back to work. You got some other issues beyond game. And the number one issues affecting men is this systematically socialized low self-esteem epidemic, where they don't even know their value. They even think that they have to pedestalize a bunch of chicken heads or women that are not even worthy to be in the presence of respectable men. Again, salute to all the good women out here. I'm not talking about you. And that's the fundamental issues these guys don't talk about. You're running game because the women themselves is damaged. Game is for damaged women. That's what you're running game for. Why are you running game? Be careful with that game. You might end up with some damn cylinder block in the back of your window or some goofy shit in today's modern age, especially when we're dealing with an epidemic of mental illness and delusion out here in these streets. We're dealing with mental health challenges, and many individuals have made a profit motive on teaching this goofy game. Maybe that man has a mental health issues from his upbringing, from his childhood, because his self-esteem is supposed to be instilled in him by men, masculine men. And if it's not been done, the first thing you need to address is his self-esteem and his issue in his masculinities that makes him think that women are more valuable than him, or he has to pedestalize women. It's hard to exploit somebody who has self-respect, self-esteem, and is in love with themselves in terms of not in some narcissistic way, but actually values themselves. And that's why I teach men how to stand alone before you can add somebody else to your life. And we talk about it. Your self-esteem should not be determined by whether you have a woman in your life or not. Because at the end of the day, if you calculate all these guys' behaviors, they're still simps because they're all performing for women. They can't live without women. Their whole life is centered around women. Any content you make about your own self-worth or self-esteem, and they see it as an attack. They attack guys that are living, a guy go overseas, and they attack guys because it destroys their business model, okay? I see all these game coaches attacking a guy like MTR because you're not going to pay them for that goofy game. You're not going, but I'm sure if you absorb that game, you will realize that half of these guys is halfway illiterate, have no sense of, bottom feeders, grifters of the space, selling goofy shit. Men's issue with the dating market, now you're dealing with delusion and mental illness. You're dealing with, you can game that all you want. You know, you might end up in a bad situation. You know, what game you need to learn to do is identify borderline personality disorders, mental issues, and stuff like that. And playing games with some of these women today, you could get up in some serious situation. I saw this situation, a young girl the other day just deleted her boyfriend. And I'm like, what? She just blasted that dude. Pop, 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 pow. Go play a game with that stuff. No, hell no. How about learning how to avoid that crazy individual or individual with mental challenges? And that's real thing. Self-protection game, I agree with. Money game, you know, health game, all that other stuff about taking care of yourself. But trying to run game on a bunch of chicken heads as a grown-ass man, you have failed in life. You failed in life. You are a loser. That's what you are. If you're sitting around in your life figuring out how to game a bunch of chicken heads, you are a loser. And the issue they have with the men, and now don't get me wrong, there's some serious downsides to many men going overseas. And there's a lot of guys selling bullshit. Women, in my opinion, are the same everywhere globally. The only difference is accountability in those systems, financial issues, and there's a system in place that doesn't teach women misandry since they were young, raising them to hate men and raise them to despise men and whatever else. So a woman is not raised to hate you like they are in like America and many places in the West, who think you're some evil patriarchy or choose the bear over you. Don't let me have some problems too. Check out South Korea, check out China, check out all these other places. So my thing is, men in general should vet all women through red pill lenses. Globally. I don't care what. They got women running scam in America. They got women running scam overseas. Everywhere. And you got delusion everywhere. Wherever this phone goes, delusion follows. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. If you brought those women here in America, they'll be the same way. They'll be hopped up on this feminism, delusion, running game like these women be running game. Running game like these cornballs of the internet who you look at some of these guys. If it wasn't for YouTube, most of these guys would be invisible. Invisible. You would not see them. You would not know them. YouTube is the only thing they got going on in life. Nothing else. Nothing else. You would walk past them in the store like they were invisible. And that's what you're dealing with individuals. And they're not going to let go of that power easy. And they're not going to let go of it. Why don't you? See, a peaceful life wants this channel to be irrelevant. Delete it. I want to be gone from YouTube. Because at the end of the day, I want men to win. Even if this means that I become irrelevant. Granted, everybody wants to make a couple of dollars off of YouTube, including me. I mean, YouTube is not free. It costs money. It costs time. It takes energy. But my objective mainly is to keep men alive, period. And I attack the virus itself, which is self-esteem, low self-esteem. Teaching you game, if you hate yourself, is a wasteful thing. Why do you not like yourself is the first question I'm going to ask you. Why do you have an issue existing? You should be able to exist 2-3 years as a man without a woman in your life. Why do you not like yourself? Why are you not in love with your own company? As well as listen to some goofy game coaching. First of all, let me explain something to you. Nowadays, with the way delusion is, there's no return on investment to be walking up to... Look, you see these game coaches get laughed at in real world. First of all, you're dealing with a creature that runs on delusion. Okay? You walking up to random women, many of them find it disrespectful if you're not an image of a person that they have in their mind, they envision. Maybe the guy on the basketball team. I was on the basketball team for you goofy ass game coaches. You come into this space, you talk to me. I'm the 6'7", 6'8" guy that was on the team. I understand these women. So all these goofy dudes and whatever else, I understand. Cause they've let me got away with murder all these years. I know how women think. They treat different men differently, and depend on how they move. And that's the truth of life. And the problem is this: if you're not the type of man that they like in today's day and age with social media, and you walk upon a woman, she's going to be an asshole to you. First of all, they're raised to hate men. Second of all, she doesn't even think. You see women that are 350 pounds talking about their tens. And in her mind, she feels disrespected. Because in her mind, you've lowered her value. What would make him think that I would even consider him? And they've expressed it in TikTok videos and all these other videos. They've told you that. They've told you they've chose the bad. They told you they don't like men. Period. So walking up on, that's goofy shit. Who wants to be beaten like a piñata? Well, it's man's job to take. No, hell no. That's your job, because you're desperate and you're thirsty. And you can't get boxed any other way but going up to women and begging them to like you. That's your problem. That's your issue. Again, I always tell people in this world, man, let me tell you something. I don't need no box. I just need me some money. Sex ain't nothing but a memory for me. And again, I'm not a bitch-led man, a man that's led by his phallus and held hostage by his phallus and shit like that. I go for years, without being in a relationship. That don't mean I won't consume pre-owned. That's a whole nother story. I'm always going to consume pre-owned, but that's a different story. That don't mean I have to be in the house living with a woman. My identity is what I am. My motivation is the way I am going to be. A peaceful life is going to burn fire, whether he's in a relationship or not. The way I move is not determined by women. And all these dudes are performing for women. Their self-esteem is low. And even any instances, if you follow these dudes back to this social media page and you see what they got at the house, like, what the hell? Who the hell would listen to these dudes with their game? Terrible. I mean, for you to teach a man about game, you have to first have something that man wants. I mean, do you want to be that dude? Before you listen to a man, ask yourself the question: do you want his life? If you don't want his life, what the hell would you listen to him for? I mean, he's got nothing going on at the house or anything else that you would want. He doesn't have a lifestyle or anything that you value or anything that you would want. You know what I mean? Like, again, the whole objective for many of these guys is to freeze men, shame them, discourage them from living life on their own terms, so that you can go buy their books, their courses, and their goofy shit, and their fake wealth, and their fake goofiness, and their fake self-esteem, and they go home to their mediocre lives and their fat women, and they're trying to extract resources out of you for money. That's why channels like mine, and that's the channels like mine, channels like the Culture Conditions, Paul Elam is still hanging around. Guys that actually have something vested in men's mental health, and you have feeling good about your life and about yourself. That's more important than game. It's really hard to exploit somebody who really feels good about themselves and loves their life, loves their have self-esteem, especially a guy that's very comfortable being in his own company. And again, anything comes in your company, it's automatically going to make you sick. If you have self-esteem, self-mastery, controlling you, because that's the only thing you can control, is you. And the problem is that there's no profit in you being self-empowered. You having high self-esteem. You're not going to the internet looking for something to give you an artificial boost. See, all things are tested in the real world. Even when you coach sports, I can teach, like I'm coaching basketball. If I got the first hour of practice, it's just purely fundamentals and teaching. Shit, that next hour, we're going to have to put that practice into that. Those teachings have to be demonstrated in 5-on-5. We need to let them run for 10 minutes or whatever else. And let me see if they execute the things that I taught them under pressure. You're not a robot. Shit happens in games. Sometimes you get a turnover. How do you react when the ball gets turned over? How do you react when the defense does this? How do you react when the defense does that? What do? The things that you can't teach, the instincts, the behaviors, the activities. The same thing was true with life. there's one recipe for dating in relationships or game, you go out there and somebody throws you a curveball and you don't know you don't, again, test it in the field. That's why that stuff is garbage. It doesn't work in the real world. And it doesn't consider mental health delusion, visions of grandeur, or how that man feels about himself. Period. I'd rather tell a guy to get a brother like the kosher condition, do a mental health evaluation on him before we even talk about a game. I want to know what your mental health makeup is. How do you feel about yourself? How were you raised? Do you have some defective issues from your childhood, your upbringing? About, how do you feel about yourself? Before you start talking about women, how do you feel about you? And what's going on in your head? And what's going on in your mental life? Secondly, what kind of situation you are in financially? What does your credit look like? What does your money look like? Forget about women. How are you doing financially, mentally? How's your health doing? Things that are important in life, as opposed to wasting your time chasing behind some old, rancid, heavily, vigorously, and viciously pounded out pre-owned box. Shit, you probably pre-diabetic. No. Forget them women. You can worry about women in box. You need to get your diabetes under control or get your weight under control. As opposed to women, shit, they can come last. They can wait. What about you? I always say you get money and you put yourself in a situation to better your life. And then if you want to, you can add a woman. But the goal here on this channel is for men to develop themselves. And I always told men, keep that new box luck in your eyes. I don't care if you're married or not. You look in my eyes, you can see one hole jump from one eye to the other. Even though I don't even partake in that activity, at the end of the day, well, I'll leave that alone. Anyhow, but you gotta look and act and behave like today or tomorrow you can get yourself some box. And that's the only thing that women today respect. That man look like I mess with that dude. He's gonna replace me and get some new box and replace my ass. So I ain't gonna mess with a peaceful life. Because look at him. Look at his eyes. He's got holes in his eyes. That's the only time women take you serious today. Especially, you can't compete with social media unless you're just completely indifferent like me. Don't provoke a peaceful life. Because hoes will be the next. I'm going to go down that alleyway. Won't keep this thing, You never know what's going to happen with me, you know what I mean? You may see me tomorrow with 3 hoes. You could try to get me mad, you know what I mean? Or some shit like that. Or see me walking in the park, but that's another story. But getting back on topic. This shit to steal money, man. Stop stealing money from these dudes. That shit don't work. Goofy ass programs, goofy ass books is robbery. You can get more just talking to me in videos and shit like that. That shit don't work in the real world out here with social media. You're dealing with insanity. They're crazy. Have you old, young, it don't matter. I see women from my age, Gen X. I graduated high school in 1992, putting out thirst trap, quoting scriptures all day long. I call them non-birthers. And they're the ones that are not building any family or community because they're not having any babies anymore. But they're out here still single, competing with their daughters. Nonsense out here in these streets, man. It's mental illness, man. Game. How you gonna get game? They're insane. What kind of game you gonna run on a crazy person? End up in the hospital or the morgue. What kind of nonsense? Free box. My ass. I don't get nothing for free. You're an idiot. I've been a police officer for 22 years. Sell that shit to me. I'll crucify your ass about free. I can go down cases where the guy, his shit was shot, killed. The dude who deleted his girl. And, I'd take him down to gunpoint. You want to talk to a guy like me about free? The guy with multiple domestic violence, having to do custody exchange, restraining orders. Women walking downtown, guy getting on the bus trying to go to work because he got a new woman trying to get him locked up. Free my ass. Get out of here, these goofy ass simps with no life experience talking to you about free. Look at him, old, talking to you about free shit. Grown-ass man. Ain't nothing free out here. Shit, that box could be the last box you had in your life. You get the life-ending or life-threatening venereal disease. Ain't nothing free out here in this world. What kind of goofy shit is that? Sex ain't never been free. Every time you have sex, you take a risk. Period. Only immature men talk about game. I get it for free. There's no such thing. It's always a price to pay. It was not designed to be that way. Period. I mean, you get some. I'm scared of free box. I'm at mess around. You give me some free box, you end up in a bathtub with ice. Your liver done been stolen from you. Or you got some crazy broad circling your block with that big ass cylinder block. And you know how expensive these shit's expensive nowadays to put new windows in your shit. Now you done pounded her. You know that chick wasn't right in the head. You got some serious post-nut clarity. And you trying to do some bullshit to get rid of her. But she's stalking your ass. I seen the dudes out there. All these dudes. Whatever, I don't care what they're fighting with women out there in the street. You're crazy, man. You know how many domestic violence restraining orders I've had to type up in my life? Restraining orders, serving people, taking weapons. Man, get out of here with that free shit. You goofy. That's why you have no life experience. That's why they be selling that shit to dudes on the internet. Stealing them. Well, come my game course. I'll teach you how to get free my ass. End up on a domestic violence restraining order because you didn't call her back after you've taken the only thing she has left in her life. That pre-owned. I know she's given it to 100 men before you, but her bond with you is special. And she's like, you played me. You lied to me. And I'm going to make you pay. Free my ass. These guys are selling garbage. Garbage, especially grown men my age, selling that nonsense to you. You're not free in this world that's worth anything. You know, what? You should be terrified of free. Be wondering what the hell is going on with free. That don't make no damn sense. Again, but anyhow, let me get off that topic. It's a crazy thing, this mentality and mindset. Don't get me wrong. There's some valid information. Men need to make conscious decisions, smart decisions, you know, and think about the things. But if everything is vetted through red pill lenses, no emotions, no getting all his feelings and all this other bullshit, you'll be fine. Because if the deal ain't good, you're just gonna walk away because it's hard to compete with a man with self-esteem that values his peace. It don't matter where you go in this world. If it ain't right, your ass is going to run. That's just the way it is. So you use that objective strategy. But at the end of the day, it comes down to how you feel about yourself and your life. And your life should not be centered around women if you're a man in this current day and age, because these relationships don't even last. Shit, people are getting out, marriages 20 years, 30 years, getting divorced because she feels a certain way. She's been watching her latest content creator on social media. So much distractions out here. So what are you going to do about yourself? Your wife walk out the house after 12 years and your whole life is destroyed because your whole life was built around her. That's why we deal with men's self-esteem and how you feel about yourself. Your ability to rebuild your life stronger, better, and move on and move past and keep on striving on in life. Again, anyhow, peace and blessings to you guys. Make sure you hit the like button. I'm out. But these guys are out here on some serious grifter shit, selling cornball shit to men. Man, you better have some self-esteem out here in this world. Period. And never lose that new box look in your eyes. That's the ultimate downfall for you. You should be able to get something when you need it. If you're in that situation as a man, you should have the self-esteem to do that. That has nothing to do with game. The question is, do you have self-esteem? Granted, female nature is a critical part of understand. You have to understand women. But you can learn that shit by watching Patrice O'Neal or Ryan Taraban is pretty good with his Psych Hacks show. There's a lot of the guys out here that you can listen to and learn a lot of information from that you don't have to pay some guy $59.99 a month. Really, most of that shit should start with your father and the men around you. Or if he ain't there, the masculine men around you, not these jellyback simps that I see, especially around the community. But That's a whole nother story. White in the right community too, all over the place, giving out bad information. Run from these cucked dudes. Watch how you want to see a man is. Watch how he is in the company of a woman. If you see that guy in the company of a woman, he's a jellyback or unconscious sim. Everything he comes around there is going to teach you how to be a cuck. Run. Don't even listen to that shit. You just setting yourself up for torture. But these guys out here, man, game. What kind of game are they teach? Are they living what they're talking about? And the answer is absolute no. Anyhow, peace and blessings to you guys. I'm out. Because anybody can say some slick shit on the internet, but in real life, that's where it matters. I'm out. Make sure you hit the like button.